Hello, we're back. I'm Normal Player Guy, and today's video is actually some exciting news for myself personally. So I've actually just recently completed all of the extreme Super Battle Roads, and I thought I'd do a video on the top 10 of the hardest. I just gave myself a little quick recording as well, just to actually prove it, but also just to go through the teams that I used. So starting off, first and foremost, without any other doubt, the most hardest one of all is movie bosses. I cannot stress just how much movie bosses is just by far the worst. This is the team that I used, and that's how roughly how long it took me. It was very, very difficult. So I did have both the Golden Freezers. I had two Janembas and I had a Tapion. A very defensive build between the Freezers and the Tapions. You ain't actually putting out a lot of damage, so you're stalling for time. You're just allowing any crits to come through, and you're allowing the Brolys to build up the power, but they struggle to actually get any links outside of like fierce battle. So very, very difficult. And what's worse about this one is these golden freezers who would normally take absolutely nothing actually take up to 15k per normal on a type neutral attack. Absolutely savage. This is by far and away the hardest hitting. The bosses, they basically take you out. I have tried a bunch of rotations to do this. Turles is a no-go until he has his EZA, and I didn't have LR Turles to pair him with. I certainly couldn't run LR Broly, even though he could be good for his AoE. They simply have too much health to just do that. And of course, while there was a lot of the units in there are not really viable. I mean, the LR Bojack is solid, but until he has his EZA, or we have like a newer, more fancier Bojack who's also a support as well, not just for the STR one, then it could be viable. But like the 13s, you couldn't run the 13s. It's just not going to be doable. It could only be the Golden Freezers from Resurrection of F and Janembas, and it was extremely difficult. And it goes without saying, all of these top 10 are extremely heavy item use. Now, number 9, no, sorry, number 2 was actually Giants. Coming in at number 2 was Giants. Now, this was very, very difficult. Now, this was difficult purely on the grounds that we'll just keep going here just so we can skip ahead to the Giants. But the Giants here was extremely difficult because it's extremely limited. Do we have a nice picture here? So the Giants. So this was very, very difficult. I didn't have LR Baby, and so you don't need LR Baby. That was basically the team I used right there. That was it. That's the team. So the three trio EZAs that we've had of the Vegeta, the Raditz, and the Kid Goku worked really, really well. I tried using various different options in here, but what I actually found good was to throw in Demigre. Now I don't have him at SA10 just yet, but I didn't need to because he has a stun chance on passive of 50% and a stun chance of super at 30%. Now, I'll be honest, you're more going to flip the coin for his passive attack to stun the enemy, and that's how you really get through. Because Tapion lowers attack, Metal Cooler lowers attack. The rest are actually the two Saiyans together. They work really, really well. You can float off one of the Tapions and you can float off some of the others, but the Demigray you want to keep on rotation as well, if at all possible. And if you get lucky, the only way I did it was just for him to stun. Now, coincidentally, despite this being giants, hardly any of these people actually transformed. I got the Cooler and I got the Tapion for falling below a certain health. I never got the Vegeta, and I never got the Raditz, and I never got the Demigre. So all in that one, yes, there we go. So that's how that one is. So giants, very, very difficult because, as I say, very, very limited. Now we'll just run through to the next one because the next one is of the same caliber, and that's Super Saiyan 3. Super Saiyan 3, again, a very limited category, but there are some recent units that are actually quite some good buffs. So here we go. So, of course, we have the recent, well, they're not so much recent, they're more last year now, but still kind of semi recent, the AGL Trunks and the Int Gohan. They work fantastic with each other. They share a lot of links, especially like Limit Breaking Fall and Over in the Flash. And they both have, like, whether the Gohan he is more of the second slot unit, and you put Trunks in the first, so you can have that guard if you can trigger it, and the Gohan for the extra power, as he has a lot of attack and defense on Super. Of course, you got the stun chance from the Gotenks, which is what you're kind of going to rely on. He will only get that though once he transforms, so you have to float him off until then. Of course, you got the staple Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Of course, he is really, really good. I got a little lucky on this because the guest is mine's at 90%, and that's obviously the guest is at the rainbow level, but he was spec for crits, and just critically in the last part, he spec totally out for crits. And of course, we'll move on a bit more. And the next one as well, and we'll take a break after the next one, would be Transformation Boost. Now, Transformation Boost is an absolute grueler, and partly because, well, actually mainly because the final battle is Ultimate Gohan. Ultimate Gohan is an absolute machine and just destroying everybody. I was fortunate to actually save a lot of my items up until then, but I had to use an item virtually every single round till I basically did it. So there was the team. I basically ran Terrifying Conquerors in many a sense, and then I just slapped in the cells for that option. So we'll just quickly fill this in. So the Super Saiyan 3s will be represented by this nice boy Goku, and then Super Buu for the transformation boost. But of course, we check this out, and let's have a look. Okay, yeah. So Super Saiyan. So we look check out movie bosses. Movie bosses is down here. What makes it especially difficult as well is this 3-on-3-on-3, and Broly only has type advantage in only just a couple of these fights, just one of these units. However, there is a pure and a hybrid Saiyan in absolutely every single one of these, so he will have that additional attack, that additional key, and the additional crit chance and damage reduction. It is on attack, but he has that passive, and that's what you're relying on. And of course, then you've got the transformation boost. This, as I say, it gets harder only because of him. You feel the difference between 3 to 2. And oh dear, do you feel the difference between these two and just him? He probably has close to, I'm not kidding, like 50 million health. It was very, very difficult. The way to actually run through that one for transformation boost is I tried to use as much as possible Cooler to lower his attack, and of course, what you can get him to transform at turn 4, and then you can just go all out attack and just crit because he has guaranteed crits against this guy. He's still a bit of a weak point in defensively, but he was able to get in there and mix it up. Movie bosses. Oh yeah, we just touched on to that. So who else did we have? We had Super Saiyan 3 and Giants, and yeah, so I believe on the other tab I may have, we'll circle back around. But anyway, yeah, so the top four at the moment right now, as I say, by far and away, it's movie bosses with these three. You are able to basically just rely on him purely only. Transformation boost. Gohan makes this extremely difficult. Giants, a very limited team, much like Super Saiyan 3. That last one of Super Saiyan 3, even though there's some good units, not one of them is a mega powerhouse where you can actually just take one of them down. Even Angel Super Saiyan 3, you'd struggle to take him down in there. So we'll move on to the next. And the fifth out for this one was Fusion. So Fusion is extremely difficult, only because it's largely like a glass cannon. So we'll just quickly jump to Fusion here. So offensively powerful, super effective against all types, has all those crits, but again, you are largely going to rely on the Tech LR, and you are largely going to rely on Gotenks' stun. You're heavily going to rely on the Super Saiyan 4's super effectiveness against all types, and a lot of luck as well. You need a lot of luck in case that, because it's like some of these units, they just cannot take a hit. So the lead I'm using, the 5th anniversary LR, in slot 3, he has a 50% chance to dodge, and that's basically what people were going for here. And that's exactly what it is, represented by nice Gogeta here, of course. So, of course, extremely difficult. These two, as I say, you know the difference between 2 and 3 and 4, and two of them, it's a nice balance between where it's difficult, but it's also, there's only two of them. And in the second one, again, because you're not defensively powerful, all these super attacks you could potentially take. You could take 4, and I've had it at certain times when 3 of these have just super attacks slot 1, turn 1, and you can just be out of the game. Now, there are some absolute powerhouses to take this down. As I say, the stun chances will come in really nice. The old LRs, this one in particular, the physical one, is still capable, especially on a crit, to just wipe them out. You don't need them to have the EZA, although, as I say, speaking of which, on the 7th anniversary, this will become quite a bit easier with two of these getting the EZAs. That's this guy and this guy. So that would really help to get it out. So you got like a full 170, although you'd run him for the full 180 if you didn't have him. And of course, both of them just being stronger, both of them having attack and defense, especially this guy, a bit of defense at the start of the turn, just really helps to make it out. Now, as for this guy's transformation, you won't get it. The team is too offensively powerful to take them down, but you are absolutely, without a doubt, a glass cannon. Now, of course, now we move on to the next one, and in 6 was a Wicked Bloodline. Wicked Bloodlines is one of the recent ones that just come out on Global. But this is difficult because a lot of the team requires a bit of time and a bit of setup to get up to. Now, you do have the benefits of having the golden freezers. I'll just quickly go ahead and just showcase that one. So we'll just run ahead. And so, yeah, the golden freezers were really good in this one. You also had Angel Transforming Freezer as well. And depending on which form he is, he has his great chance to stun or his seal. So, which all round he is very good, but again, they also take time they also take a lot of time to build up. You've got Cooler again, physical Cooler. Sorry, he's really powerful, but he's really powerful as you get on in the end game as well. If you spec him out for crits because he's doing all these attacks. When it came to the fusion, there was a few in it. We checked this one. Now we go back one. Yeah, well, anyway, we stick back to this one, the Wicked Bloodline one in particular. So, yeah, so Wicked Bloodline, much like the Fusion, there's a few in there per one. These two I found very, very difficult at the start, especially considering that Cooler has got to build up. SDR Cooler will get you killed. The two Golden Freezers are an absolute must. These are, as I say, the Golden Freezers are a great tank defensive unit, and it showcases in this, but they're not as much in the movie bosses. But because these require time to build up, the Tech Freezer needs a chance to warm up and actually get a couple of stacks in. I use Tech Freezer here. Angel Freezer is difficult unless he gets his attacks in and he stacks that defense. But of course, in his angel form, in his golden form rather, he only has that damage reduction under 50% health, so it's very difficult. I did also end up using it with the Metal Cooler. He is good as well because he also lowers attack. He has that giant form, which can come in handy. Although, I'll be honest, the giant forms, which you'll notice in in the Extreme Super Battle Road for Giants, does nothing. They absolutely do nothing unless it's a crit. It does help to chip away some health, but that's really about it. You're far better off prior to that. So after Wicked Bloodline, we now have Realm of Gods. So the Realm of Gods is difficult because it's 4 on 4 on 4. You're always facing a threat of multiple attacks. However, what really compensates it is it's a very big roster, and it's a powerful roster. It's extremely powerful here. You think you've got the 6th anniversary LRs, you've got several EZAs. So here we go. I'll just pause it on here. So I used, and you can even have a lot of overlap. As you can see, I used the Vegeta as a guest, the recent EZA Vegeta as a guest, as he's a full 170 across the board for pure Saiyans, much like this guy who's a pure 170 across the board for Realm of Gods. You have the two UIs. I was fortunate to have these two UIs and this guy. And of course, I've talked about him a lot. These two, in fact, pretty much all of these, except for this guy, is in my top 20 most helpful variant of typings. Of course, I think all of these are either, if they're not in the A tier, they are absolutely in the B tier. Now, I relied a lot on this guy to get the dodge, these two to get the dodge, and I put the two blue Vegetas together as to able to flesh out some damage. Now, of course, in the Realm of Gods, which I would believe would be on the previous stage. Is it on this stage? It's probably on the other one. Yeah, it's on the other one. So beyond this one. And of course, as I say, it's 4 on 4 on 4 at all points in times, making it extremely difficult. Yes, 4 on 4 on 4. You don't want to use Zamasu, he will get you killed. Beerus, you'd have to build the team around him. Now, he's really good, and you do have options like Int Vardos and STR Whis, but compared to the team that I used, I feel like you need power. You want the rotations to be right, so you can actually just take out a couple of these. If you think the UI Gokus, they could take down this guy or this guy or this guy straight off the bat, especially if the AGL UI can get his double super double crit. You can absolutely take one of these out. The Vegetas can tank quite nicely after they've had a chance to build, but you're constantly facing a threat of 4 of these. As I say, powerful team, works really, really well. Now, it's very difficult if you don't have the 2 UIs, because of course you're guaranteed to take some hits. But there is one free-to-play unit that could help, and that's the physical UI. He does stack attack and defense as well, gives you a little bit of a chance, and he has a 50% chance to dodge. But no doubt, if you don't have the top-heavy units, you're going to really, really struggle. Now, of course, we'll just quickly fill in that board as Realm of Gods. Realm of Gods will be represented by this guy. Nice. God Vegeta. Wicked Bloodline will be filled in by this guy quite nicely. So the final 3 we're coming up to. So the next one is Resurrected Warriors. Resurrected Warriors has made a lot of improvements since, but you'll find the team still is missing a couple of high-profile characters. We'll try and move. Here we go. So these teams, and yeah, okay, so as you can see, the Golden Freezers, the 2 Margin Vegetas, and the Angel Transforming Freezer. I actually happened to use this guy because I ran out of the other guy. However, he turned out to be still just as useful, as he passively lowers attack. Now, I believe he's just had his EZA and JP, which makes him a little bit better. But that would have really helped on this. But as I say, at the same time, it didn't really help too much here. But as I say, passively, it's still nice. Resurrected Warriors. If we try and have a look at it on here, so it's difficult because it's 2 and 2 and 2. As I say, said as before, the difference between 2 and 3, you notice. Now, you'll find that these 2 are actually okay with the pairings that you have. These 2 are a problem. This guy is a hard counter for the lead. And these 2, I don't know what it is about these 2, but these hit ridiculously hard. This Super Saiyan 3, he has a lot of health. He has more so than this guy. It's incredibly difficult for this one. A lot of item heavy use. And of course, I think I need to use next to all of my items. Let's have a look. I actually, no, funny enough, I only used 6 out of 8. I got lucky on that. Of course, you got the 2 Golden Freezers here to help out. He lowers attack. You allow a lot of these are orb hungry, so you gotta allow a rotation to get this. Now you get the 6 orbs he needs, the Int Margin Vegeta, and he does reduce damage, and he also has extra defense on super attack. And this guy, if he transforms, and it's fairly reasonable that you actually will get him to transform, and he, of course, he will then also need 6 orbs. So that is also one of the more difficult ones, just because it's 2 on 2 and 2, and it's a mismatch of teams as well, because it's Margin Vegetas and Freezers, and they're all orb hungry, although you can forgo the Golden Freezer super attack. So the next one now, as we enter now, is actually the typings. So the typings now, the first one was the Extreme Physical versus Super STR. I'll just quickly show the records to show you the team I used. There you go. Very difficult, but of course, across 3 of them off the beginning, they each share big bad bosses. Now, this was so difficult, I actually managed to grind away to make sure that these were all big bad bosses level 10 at the very least. So also when this guy transformed, I believe he did during one of my runs, he actually would get that big bad bosses. Now, it's difficult, that one, the versus the extreme. And there's one other one as well. Yeah, so my one had the 5, then the 3, then the 2, and also it had the final 3. What makes this more difficult, the monotypes, is there's actually 4 stages to go through, just 4 stages. It's quite difficult to actually save your item should you need it, especially when you come across these 5 and then you run across these 4. So I came across these, and you can come across these 3. You waste your items The way to realistically do it is you need to have the booze together. This guy can have his seal chance. The coolers have a chance to actually really just put the hammer down, especially paired up with someone with big bad bosses. Now I did this prior to Cell's EZA, who would have made this much better. As well, you'll notice I put the Broly and Co. in there. The Broly and Co. If you can get them the 8 orbs, they can dodge anything, but also depending on what type of orbs you get, you need 2 of either type, and you can get a defensive or offensive attack buff, whereas it's int and tech, 2 of each, and you can get a defensive buff in AGL and STR, 2 of each. You'll get a offensive buff. You want to obviously go for that defensive buff. Offensively, as I say, you're never going to struggle. Bit of a mismatch, but big bad bosses really helps to flush them out. It's difficult because it's short on flat out tanks, and it's just the extreme side just doesn't get that many units compared to, say, AGL and STR, who both super and extreme class, you're going to have a lot of units in there. And the final one, which made it one of the most difficult going on to here, but the least of the difficulties especially compared to the categories, was using extreme AGL versus super STR. Talk about a very difficult, very limited type with 4 battles. Absolute madness. So here's the records. I end up using Baby, although Baby is only 100% the stats. You'll find that his ability to link up with GT here, having that extra defense from these guys here, really works out well. You'll notice from this team, still got Angel Golden Frieza, and I've got the AoE Frieza. Now he has a 30% chance to seal on super attack. So that's for each and every single one of them. But then you've also got his chance to actually stun in his attack. And of course, this hit is also quite reasonable on his own. He can actually hold his own quite nicely. He's actually free to play from the World Tournament. So that's the final one for that. So we don't need that video anymore. But yes, using this guy, similar principle. You can come across 5, then 2, then 4, 3. It's incredibly difficult to go across. You're relying on this guy, even though he's had his EZA, even if you have him at Rainbow, unless you have him built up, he's really, really difficult. And I couldn't even use Margin Vegeta, as he has just no good linking partners. But of course, the androids are also very good to use the LR androids. So, altogether, that was the top 10 for the most hardest extreme Super Battle Road. Obviously, Movie Bosses just takes the cake with our Far and Away, and the rest just out of just how difficult the actual fights can be with the roster and how glass cannon people are. He even got some monotypings in there. This is the most difficult 10, at least in my opinion, and I have just recently done these. So, that's the end of the video. I hope you like it. Until then, bye bye.